Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, part 2 of our 6-month show update. Well, if you're just joining me for the first time today, this is part 2 of a series where the last part was played last Tuesday. And what it is that roughly about every 6 months, I like to go through the archives of my shows and pull out certain episodes and give an update as to the project. Would I do it again? What would I change? How is it held up? Or if it was a review, the same sort of thing. Was it a worthwhile product? That sort of thing. And that's what we're doing today. So guys, sit back, relax, and let's get to the updates. March 3rd of 2020, I took a chance, played with some resin, experimented a little bit, and I was able to repair one of my little mini mallets that I've got. And a question arose asking, how does the resin, how does it react, or how does it take the pounding? Well, I can honestly say I've used this thing, and you may have seen it on a couple shows where I've used it for hammering this or hammering that. The thing doesn't have a mark on it. It's got a couple scratches, it's got a couple little scuffs, but other than that, there's nothing wrong with it. It works absolutely fantastic. It is, well, let's put it this way. It can take a beating a lot better than what the original one did that blew apart on me as I was pounding on my snowblower with it. But 100% repaired, 100% usable, and I saved a tool from going into the trash. This was nothing more than an experiment. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, and I as well had some reservations about how well that resin would hold up once you actually started pounding on something. But of course, you never know until you give it a whirl. And I have given it a whirl over the past while since I did the show. Even though the show only aired at the beginning of March, that repair was done quite a while ago. So the show was pre-recorded. It's done months prior. So this hammer or mallet has taken some abuse since then, but you wouldn't know it to look at it. The resin's held up, the coloring is held up, the turning, how I shaped it to fit into the mallet head, has held up perfectly. So if I have another one of the original ones that breaks again, how will I repair it? You're darn right I'm going to be using resin again because it worked great. Well, whenever you post a review on a YouTube channel, you have to remember or keep in mind that you are putting yourself out there to potentially millions of people who all have an opinion. And those opinions don't always coincide with yours, and that's fine. And when you are filming said review, sometimes things get forgotten. And that is what has happened in the review that I posted May 21st of 2019. That was the review for my Rikon 30-212VS variable speed benchtop drill press. That's a mouthful and a half. Either way, what has happened here is I have had several comments about the fact that during my review of this product, which I love by the way, I never mentioned the run out on the chuck or the quill or that sort of thing. Now, it's not that I'm trying to hide anything, it's just I forgot to put it into the review. That's okay though, because through those comments, it actually spawned a new show idea. And what that show idea was demonstrating how to measure the run out of your drill press and some potential fixes that you could do in order to correct or improve the run out on your drill press. I don't remember off the top of my head what the final run out was on this one. When I get into the editing, I'll post it right here, okay? The run out on this ended up to be acceptable in my mind. It was just fine, but I did leave it out of the review. But it did spawn a whole show regarding run out on your drill press, etc. So I will be sure to post a link to that show down below. I'm hoping that by the time this update show actually airs, the show on run out would have already aired, and I'll have more information to post down below when this show gets posted. But just to let you know, that run out was not eliminated on purpose from the review. It has been corrected. I have answered those of you who have asked about it in the comments section, and there is a new show that will be airing hopefully before this update show that will demonstrate how to test that and possible corrections for yourself. So there you go. You put yourself out to that many people on a review of a tool, and you're bound to get something that you forgot or something that someone doesn't agree with, and that's just the nature of a YouTube channel. And I appreciate all of your input to have it so that I can correct those issues for future reviews or post a completely new show on what it is you're asking for. May 2nd of 2015 brought you a silly little MDF scrap project and spray paint, threaded rod, etc. of a wood spinner. Now, it has been 5 years since this project was made. And when I saw the show, as I was going through the list of my shows to see what I would like to update, this one was the furthest from my mind. And when I saw the show there, I realized this was a project that was made from scrap 1/4-inch MDF. It was made from some threaded rod and a swivel, a fishing rod swivel, and some spray paint. This thing has been hanging outside from a tree in my yard since 2015. So over 5 years. And it's still here. I don't get it. I never expected this project to survive. I never expected it to live this long. I expected you might get 1, maybe 2 seasons out of it, and that would be it. It would just disintegrate on itself. Not the case. For some reason, this thing lives on, and it has never been taken inside. It has never been sheltered from the elements. It has been hit with rain, ice storms, sleet, hail, thunder and lightning. The only thing it hasn't been is struck by lightning, and yet it still goes. It's been covered in snow. It's been frozen. It's been hit with extreme high heat and high humidity temperatures. And in the other end of the scale, it's been hit with the lowest of the low temperatures of a Canadian winter. And yet, it still goes. I don't get it. But what's the update here? Well, I guess sometimes certain projects shock you. And this one, well, I guess it's a bit of a shocker, because I sure as heck never expected that it would have ever survived this long. June 11th of 2019, I showed you guys how I modified my Shotback floor attachment, which was getting destroyed with my rough concrete floor of the shop. I modify it by adding little wheels so that it would roll on the floor and not chip up so badly across the rough concrete. How did that work out? Let's head over to the bench and I'll show you what happened with this modification. Well, for the longest time, this modification has been working perfectly. I have absolutely no problems with it. The problem starts when somebody tightened these bolts too tight and made it so that these wheels didn't free flow or free roll any longer. So I tightened it too much, and over time it has been wearing these down flat. Now it still works and it still serves its purpose as it raises it over and above the floor. And it actually rides now on these washers, so it doesn't wear down the plastic rollers any longer. It all could have been avoided if I just didn't have the bolts so darn tight. So was this a failure, or was this an unsuccessful modification? Not at all. It worked great and still does. The only thing that I did wrong is I tightened these bolts too much. So I will be revisiting this and replacing these wheels. I may look at a new solution or a harder solution. Who knows, maybe even pour some resin wheels, making a mold and doing it that way. Either way, a modification like this was fantastic. I have no regrets about it. And sometimes your modification just requires a little bit of tweaking, and that's what's happened here. So, was it a failure? Not at all. Would I do it again? 100%, but I would learn from the mistakes of the first time. And hopefully those of you out here who have tried this modification, if you see this, check your wheels and just make sure that they are still spinning and that they're not just grinding down as these ones are doing here. September 4th of 2020, not that long ago really, I brought you what was one of the most fun projects I think I've ever had the privilege and the pleasure of making here on the show, and that was the Beretta M9 rubber band gun. Now, of course, I did state on the show that this was not my design. I am not going to take credit for this design, and I did give the website for getting the patterns for these guns, which are offered on this person's website for free, which blows my mind. So what's the update here? The update is, since making this one, as I said earlier in today's show, this show is pre-recorded, I've made 3 of these things. One being the Colt revolver pistol, and the other being the lever action rifle. And I have to tell you, this guy's layout and this guy's patterns are off the charts. They are just wonderful. I loved making all 3, and I intend to make every one that he's got a pattern for. They're just so much fun. The whole process of milling the wood and then cutting it and putting the pieces together, laminate them, and then figuring out the rubber bands that are inside to make the mechanisms work. He gives very specific measurements of very specific rubber bands, and I don't have those available in my area, so there's quite a bit of tweaking that goes on inside to make the project function correctly. I'm fine with that, and then I just added in my own notes as to what type or what size of rubber bands and how many that you need. These projects, guys, these rubber band guns are more fun than I should be allowed to have in my shop. Cutting them, the whole process is absolutely enjoyable. It's just one of those projects that I'm so happy that I found it. I locked into it. My wife says, "What are you going to do with all these things?" I don't know, but you know, maybe the grandkids will play with them. Who knows? You know, they're just fun. They're fun, and when people see them, their jaws just drop. They look at them, holy crow, that's fantastic. I mean, look at the lever action work here. This thing is spectacular. Like, it is so fun to make, shoot, play with, load. The whole thing is just a fantastic project. I just wish I found this guy's site sooner. I really hope that you guys are not going to deny yourselves. I hope that you're going to get to this guy's site, get the free patterns, and make your own rubber band guns, because they are awesome. And there you have it. The latest update show. Guys, I have more fun in this shop and more fun on this show than what I should legally be allowed to have. You guys are what make that possible. You keep coming back, you keep viewing the show, you keep giving me your input, you keep asking your questions, and the product of today's show, all of the updates, a good majority of them came from you, the viewers. People who have asked questions and said, I watched your review, but I didn't see this. Or, how about if you did this? Or, by the way, remember this project? How did that ever work out? How did it last? What was its longevity? Etc., etc. There are so many ideas on this show that come from you, the viewer, and I thank you very much for that. If you don't like today's show, you can do something about it. You can drop a comment below and ask about your update. What would you like to see? What show idea would you like to see? What would you like to see updated? What old show do you wonder whatever happened with that? I'd be more than happy to add it to the next update show, because that's the whole purpose of this, is to answer questions that you have on shows that were posted previously. If you haven't already, guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell so that you don't miss the notifications of future episodes of the show. I hope you've enjoyed today's content. I hope for some of you it's answered some questions that may have been in the back of your mind. And I also hope that you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another Alternative Tuesdays. Guys, make the rubber band guns. You have to. They're awesome.